What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with another video. We're going to talk about Montrezl Harrell finally getting picked up by the Houston Rockets. They're re-signing him. He was a part of that Chris Paul trade that gave them a bunch of pieces, a bunch of assets, and a bunch of quality players in return from losing a superstar in Chris Paul, which helped the Houston Rockets get further than the Clippers have ever got with Chris Paul, and they got to the Western Conference Finals. But this gave the Clippers a lot of pieces and a lot of parts that can potentially give them another superstar, whether if they trade up in the draft to get the player or even trade for a superstar when they become available. People do want to play for the Clippers because they have Jerry West. They have a coach in Doc Rivers that, you feel like you can go there and get the best out of your talent. Yes, he didn't really succeed that much with Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre, but Doc Rivers is still one of the most respected coaches in the NBA, and Jerry West is one of the biggest winners. Even if he's a consultant, if you have Jerry West in that organization, he's about winning and he's about getting superstars to come so that way he can have the best chance of winning championships. Obviously, when he came in there, they still did have two all-star caliber players in Chris Paul and Blake, but trading Chris Paul, basically was the end of the Clippers, and now it didn't really matter anyway because Chris Paul is old. He's older now, and you don't want to be locked down to Chris Paul and beating up and bruising Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan only made one All-Star team, and to me, he shouldn't even made that one. But right now, they just trying to get talent, and they're trying to get as many asses as they can. So when a superstar become available, they can basically trade to get that player, or even trade up in the draft, get some young pieces, and get some of these assets and trade them all together with a couple draft picks and potentially get them. But Montrezl Harrell is the guy. He's a guy that everybody likes. Everybody to me would like to play with him because he has that motor. He wants to win. He has that feeling to win. He fights. He claws. He crashes the rebounds. He's active as a defender, whether he's switching to shooting guard, small forwards, or power forward. He has the athleticism and the speed and quickness. He's a solid defender. When he came into the league, I liked him on the Rockets. I feel like that was the steal to get him at that position, especially since he fit right in kind of what the Rockets wanted to do with bigs at that time. Obviously, P.J. Tucker is the better fit now, but before they had P.J. Tucker, I thought Harrell deserved more minutes, and he went to the Clippers and put up some decent numbers, and the amount of touches he had got, and I'm about to read these off real quick. Montrezl Harrell only shot 7 shots a game and shot 63% from the field. He gave you 11 points a game and 4 rebounds and 17 minutes a game. That's double-digit points in less than 20 minutes, while also giving you 1 assist, 4 rebounds, and a high shooting field goal percentage. Yes, he does play well off others. He played 76 games for the Clippers. He started 3 of them. They still have some shot creators and Lou Williams. They have some players that can definitely take the attention and the spotlight off of Montrezl Harrell, and that's when he really shines. He shines when you're not paying attention, or you're underestimating him, or you're just losing sight of him, and that's when he starts to crash the offensive boards. That's when he starts to get those lanes to get dunks and layups and alley-oops. This guy is a workhorse. You always see him doing something that helps the team win. And that's something that you can't really gauge when you're going to terms on the contract. That's why I believe that it took them so long. I don't feel like Jerry West made it a priority going into free agency trying to please Montrezl Harrell. Obviously, he's a player that you prefer to keep, but I don't feel like he was the marquee free agent that they wanted to keep. But he is also going to be an underrated free agent because of his ability to find ways to win basketball games for you while not being a primary player. He's not a player that they're going to make calls for or make plays for throughout the year. That he's just a guy that's going to be out there trying to do whatever he can to make a winning play, and that's hard to gauge. Like I said, if you would have told me Montrezl Harrell would have got $6 million a year, I would have been a little surprised because it's some players that was better than him on this free agent market that got less than that. Obviously, he also got the longer term deal. He got 2 years. So having a 2-year deal definitely was a little shocker. But considering that he already played for Doc Rivers last year, he already has experience with the team and certain players on the roster, and the fact that, like I said, he gave you quality time and quality minutes. He definitely need to work on that 3-point shot because he is 6'8". He is a very mobile, agile player, and he can play a lot of positions. But I want him to max out his potential as a young player still, and add a little bit of that three ball so he can have the longevity in the NBA come to the future. So if he can add that 3-point shot or a better mid range jumper, he can be a even more versatile player in the pick and roll, in switching, and even playing multiple positions like he's been doing. But the more offensively he gets, the more things he can do, which opens up different variety and diversity and how they can utilize him. He can be more of a specialist besides just being a hustle player and a person that outworks other players that doesn't really care about the game as much as he does. But getting a 2-year deal is a big deal considering that everybody's signing a 1-year contract or trying to keep flexibility for the next year to get the big name free agents next year. So for Jerry West to commit $6 million of their cap to a guy like Montrezl Harrell is a little shocker, especially because $6 million is a lot now. But they have a lot of good role players. They have a lot of solid players on this roster. This adds some more depth and diversity to their approach and what they can do. And like I say, he already played with the Clippers last year and already know the coaching and the culture and what they're trying to accomplish. Obviously, it's going to be different not playing with other star players because they really don't have a superstar on this roster right now. But they still have good pick and roll players, decent ball handlers, decent spot up shooters. So he should still be able to go to the rim and get the alley oops, get the dunks, and get the rebounds. And he might even get more minutes depending on what they're trying to do offensively and defensively. So he proved that he can play. He proved that he should be an NBA player. Obviously, he proved to Jerry West, a guy that's all about winning, that he deserves a roster spot and a longer commitment than other players been getting this season. So I definitely think that when he got drafted, that he was one of the steals of the draft, and he obviously proved that in Houston, giving you 9 points a game in 18 minutes while also giving you 3.8 rebounds and 65% from the field, which is a career high. He showed that he can definitely give you valuable minutes at that 32nd pick. You're really not looking for much unless you're looking for a project over a drafting stash, but to get a quality player that can come in and make an impact, that's a very good pickup for a team like Houston, and now is a very good pickup for a team like the Clippers. But I definitely see the bigger picture with Jerry West with this roster. They still have a long way to go just to be a contender. Obviously, they look like they're going to rebuild even faster than what people think because of how many assets and players that they have on this roster and the fact that they have a lot of cap space in the upcoming seasons. So I like the flexibility that they put themselves in. I like the fact that they got some decent players that are attractive and have solid contracts. I don't really feel like that many players on this roster is overpaid or underpaid. I feel like they're either a little bit underpaid or paid just a right amount that other teams are not scared to take on their salary, including Montrezl Harrell. So if you look at a contract like Lou Williams or Montrezl Harrell, these contracts are tradable, and that's what you definitely want to do as a GM. You don't want to overpay, or you don't want to go too far in the cap to where you're cap strapped and you can't really make that many moves or that many acquisitions. You want to be able to have flexibility and good players that can contribute on multiple teams. And they don't have a superstar. They don't have even an all-star. But to me, they still have quality players, even if it's just Tobias Harris. He's on a decent contract for the type of minutes and the type of things that he does. The most overpaid player probably on the roster is Gallinari. The fact that he hasn't been able to stay healthy for multiple years, missing multiple double-digit amount of games every year, and the fact that he hasn't really looked the same. He probably got the worst contract on the roster, but I still don't even think his contract is as terrible depending on what you package with him because he can really just be a salary filler. And since this year coming up, he only really had one more year left on that deal, and then he becomes aspiring, which becomes even more attractive for teams that's trying to keep flexibility, even for a team like the Clippers. they can definitely just hold on to that contract after next year, and then he just become a salary dump off their books. So they made the right moves. They're going in the right direction. Now we're just trying to find a way to get another superstar, build a brand, build an identity, build a culture around that player. And you already have two winners, and like I said, in Doc Rivers and Jerry West. That's all about winning championships and finding ways to maneuver this roster to get back to that level will probably come in the next 2 to 3 years. The Clippers in a good space. They in a good time. They had the best seasons they ever had. They had a lot of winning seasons. Obviously, they missed the championship. Obviously, they missed the Western Conference Finals, and that's why they're trying to find a way to rebuild now instead of hold on to their players until they get old and still trying to fight for a championship they might not get with that group. And they found out that group wasn't working. That group wasn't getting far enough, and then they moved on, and now they're trying to go in a different direction, which is impressive considering that they gave up superstars and all-stars just to start over. And they haven't went too low, they haven't went too high, but that's good too, having assets on some type of contract. Check out my website, check out my website, analysisplayground.com. Link in the description in the comment section below. Check out my Facebook page, analysisplayground.com. Link in the description in the comment section below. Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis. I'm going. Let me know what you guys think about the Los Angeles Clipper re-signing Montrezl Harrell, an energy, an effort, a fighter, a go-getter, a hustler, to a 2-year, $16 million deal. I mean, $12 million